What is going on, everybody? And what is up, you movie people? Welcome back. This is Hollywood Hangout. I am Boxman. Appreciate everybody joining me. Tonight, we have a really fun movie. We've got an artist who is trying to save his brother in a government protest. kind of a kind of rings true now. Everyone's trying to protest the government. But this is sort of a cult classic, and I'm going to dive as deep as I can into this movie. Uh, and this is the what I call underrated gem of a movie, Turk 182. Now, unfortunately, I know I usually tell you guys where you can watch these movies. I don't think there's anywhere to watch this movie. Let me double check, but I don't think right now there's anywhere to stream this movie. There's not. Um, no. Nope. Already tried. Nowhere to stream this movie right now. If you really want it after I talk about it, hit me up. Hit me up right here. Give me an email address. I'll get you the movie. It is not remastered in any way. It still looks pretty grainy, pretty 85. That's because we are jumping into the old time machine and going back to 1985 and talking about this movie. Now, I got to admit, I was a little on the fence whether I should do this movie because A, you can't stream it anywhere, and B, it's not really a very popular movie. This is one of those movies my dad loved and always wanted, always showed me and this and that. And it came out when I was 10, but I remember watching it on video at home. So my dad must have rented it at one point. I'm sure it was on beta at one point. We had a beta. Yep, I just aged myself. I said beta. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I am gonna do the usual get into the actors first. Um It'll be a little tough to do it any other way just because of the way this movie flows. Um, so let's go ahead. No reason to waste any more time. Let's go ahead and talk about a few of the actors in the movie that we're going to talk about tonight in Turk 182. This movie stars, well, really three people are the stars. We're going to talk about them right now. Let's start with Timothy Hutton. Now, we all know Timothy Hutton. Let me sneak myself in here. Timothy Hutton has been around a very long time. Very young when he started. His first real movie role was in the 1980 movie Ordinary People. That was Robert Redford's directorial debut. He played Conrad Jared, a teenager kind of struggling with grief and guilt, and that performance earned him the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor at just age 20. He still holds that record today. Still, no one has touched that record. A few more notable films. He was in Taps 1981. That was with Tom Cruise and Sean Penn. Another great movie. The Falcon and the Snowman, 1985. Not the first time I'll be mentioning that movie tonight. The Dark Half, 1993. Beautiful Girls, 1996. And some TV shows. A Nero Wolfe Mystery, 2001 2002. Leverage, 2008 to 2012. I watched that show, Leveraged. I watched because I like Timothy Hutton. Another movie he's great in, which I forgot to put in my notes, was but The General's Daughter. Timothy Hutton, great in that fucking movie. But Leverage was a good TV show. It was from 2008 to 2012. I really enjoyed the show. It was fun. Basically, they were kind of anti-government. They were like Robin Hood. They would steal from rich people and give to the poor people. American Crime, 2015 to 17, and The Haunting of Hill House, 2018. But He is known for some of his work behind the scenes as well. The year before this movie actually came out in 1984, he directed the the music video for Drive by the Cars, which out of every song by the Cars, Drive is one of my favorites. Not even Drive is my favorite song by the Cars. It is excellent. It is just a great song. I love that song. I did not know he directed that until I started doing a little digging into Timothy Hutton. So there you go. So Timothy Hutton is probably the main character in this. And like I said, the reason I'm doing the actors first and this time is just because too many spoilers if I do it the other way. So there we go with Timothy Hutton. Now, Timothy Hutton, by the way, plays Jimmy Lynch. I believe that's the right name. Damn it. One of those days. Yeah, Jimmy Lynch. Now, Robert Ulrich is also in this movie, plays his brother, Terry Lynch. Now, Robert Ulrich, if you're as old as I am, and I have noticed most of my listeners are as old as I am or older, not all, but most, know Robert Ulrich from a little show called Spencer for Hire. Mostly, that was me. That's really where I knew this guy from. Mostly, this guy's been making films for years. I mean, been around since the early days. He was in a show called Vegas back in 1978 to 1991 as Dan Tana. He was a private detective in that show. Again, Spencer for Hire, 1985 to 1988. He was Spencer. SWAT, the original SWAT series, not the new one, obviously. 75 to 76. He was Jim Street, who in the movie, the newer SWAT movie, not newer, but it was Colin Farrell playing that part. He was in Soap, 1977. He had an early, man. I remember that show too. I remember watching Soap at home. That was one of the nighttime sitcoms. It was great. What a good show. Really, really good show. A couple film appearances. He was in Magnum Force. If you guys remember, I think that was the second Dirty Harry movie. I think it was where he was one of the dirty cops. Think that was the second one, along with Clint Eastwood. Ice Pirates, 1984. Everyone knows that. He did get his in 1995. He got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. But like I said, most notable for me is Spencer for Hire. Used to love that show. Used to sit there at night and watch it in my room. So we move on a little bit from there. Now we have Danny Boudreau. Might sound like a male name, but it is not. It is by, my God, this woman took over the 80s for me. Played by Kim Cattrall. Kim Cattrall is one of the, she is just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And I mean, we were even seeing her in the late 90s and early 2000s. She was Samantha on Sex and the City. So, had a couple films out of that. So, definitely a lot. But early in the 80s, she was in Porky's. She was in Police Academy, Big Trouble in Little China, Mannequin. I just watched that movie a little while ago. Star Trek, The Undiscovered Country, 1991. But most recent, as we said, Sex and the City. She's also in the Hulu spinoff, How I Met Your Father. So that too. But I know her mostly from this film, Big Trouble in Little China. I just watched it over the weekend, and Police Academy. Police Academy. All those movies are fucking funny. I know they're not good, but they are funny and fun to fucking watch. But Kim Cattrall, even as a kid, I just knew she was a beautiful, beautiful girl. And she still is. And she still is. So Kim Cattrall is in this movie again, plays Danny Boudreau. She is a social worker assigned to Terry's case. Again, Terry is the brother of Timothy Hutton's character in this movie. And we'll get to all that. Now, Robert Culp is in this movie. Robert Culp plays the mayor, Tyler, John J. Tyler, very close to John J. Rambo. John J. Tyler, kind of a corrupt, obsessed with his image kind of mayor. And he's the mayor of New York. And give me one sec here. We're going to go and talk about Robert Culp. And Robert Culp, not in a ton of things, but was in some very memorable things. Now, again, older actor. We actually lost him in 2010, Robert Culp. But a few notable roles, especially TV. I Spy, 1965 to 1968, one of his most famous roles. He was tennis pro, undercover tennis pro Kelly Robinson, alongside Bill Cosby. Now, look, we don't need to get into what Bill Cosby did. We're talking 1985. Now there was a little TV show called The Greatest American Hero, where this guy actually was a star. He was a big, tough, by the book FBI agent. And he also has alien superpowers. So that's another great TV show. And he was in Everybody Loves Raymond. He was Warren Whalen for a while. He was definitely a staple, though. He was a staple of the 80s and even early 70s. But he was always a guest star on Columbo. He did a ton of episodes of Columbo, The Outer Limits, and shows like that. But he plays the corrupt mayor in this, John J. Tyler, excuse me, in this movie. And let's move on a little bit. Let's move on to Peter Boyle, folks. We just mentioned Everybody Loves Raymond. Let's move on to another Everybody Loves Raymond star, Peter Boyle. Frankie Barone in Everybody Loves Raymond. Peter Boyle, unfortunately, we lost Peter in 2006. But, I mean, he was the monster in Young Frankenstein. He was Wizard in Taxi Driver. The guy that kind of taught everybody. And, of course, we're not going to get through a show without mentioning it. He played a character named Dan Breen in NYPD Blue throughout a few of the episodes. He was Sipowitz's AA sponsor in season 2. So he was in that also. But Peter Boyle, mostly people right now, anyone young is going to know him from Everybody Loves Raymond. So, but in this movie, he does not play that. He plays Detective Ryan. He is a detective in this movie, and he's really the mayor's security detail. That's pretty much who he is. So we got him, and I got 2 more, and then we're going to get into the movie itself, and this is going to make it pretty easy. Now, this is Darren McGavin, folks. Now, Darren McGavin was another staple in the 80s. To me, was definitely a staple in the 80s. This is the father in A Christmas Story. This was the guy who played the dad. He was in The Night Stalker. He was in a movie called a Judd Nelson movie. He played Duncan, Craig Duncan, in a Judd Nelson movie called From the Hip. It's Judd Nelson, David Allen Greer, and I forget who else, but it is a really fun movie if you can find that one. And that movie was actually directed by Bob Clark, who directed A Christmas Story. And we're going to hear that name again because guess who directed this movie? Um, yeah, there you go, Bob. He was Billy Madison's dad in Billy Madison. If you remember him from that, and many, many more things this guy was into. But he was also in Murphy Brown. He was Candace Bergen's father. Just so many TV shows this guy has been in. But I know him mostly from my absolute favorite Christmas movie, A Christmas Story. So there you go. And last but not least, we have one more actor to get into. And he actually wasn't in this movie playing a character. And you know what? I forgot to tell you. Darren McGavin is Detective Kowalski. Excuse me. Another cop helping out on the case. So another actor who actually plays himself and has a cameo in this movie is Paul Sorvino. Yep, that's right. Paulie from Goodfellas is in this movie. That'd be 5 years later after this role. But yeah, there you go. He's been in Goodfellas, Law and Order, Nixon, Romeo and Juliet, the 1996 version, Rocketeer, The Firm. He was great in The Firm. He was muscle. He was a mobster, basically. Didn't have a huge part. But, you know, you don't think about it, but this guy usually didn't really until Goodfellas, but started playing these tough guys and, you know, mobsters and stuff, but really is a classically trained opera tenor. Also does bronze sculpting. Amazing. Amazing. And he is the father to Mira Sorvino also. Just to throw that in there. But Paul Sorvino, fucking amazing, amazing actor. Another actor, unfortunately, we lost in 2022. But when you do a movie this old, you got to expect to talk about a lot of actors who have passed. So let's dive into the movie a little bit. I'm going to do a little scene by scene ish, not what you're thinking, probably. So let's get into this right now. Let's dig into a few little production things about this movie. Now, the name of this movie is actually inspired by Taki 183, who in the late 60s and 70s was a real graffiti artist in New York. Real name was Demetrius. But he went by Taki, and the 183 came from the street address. He lived on 183rd Street in Washington Heights. Now, this movie does hold a little piece of history, being this was the first movie ever with a PG-13 rating in the United States. This was right after the MPAA's creation of that rating in 1984. This movie was released right after, and immediately they got the PG-13 rating. So this movie still holds a place in cinematic history just for that reason. Now, again, we have Timothy Hutton, as I said, kind of fighting the system in this movie. And again, directed by Bob Clark, who we just talked about. And we'll get into him in just a minute. Now, this isn't the first time Timothy Hutton has played the protagonist against the government. Taps, as we talked about, this movie, The Falcon and the Snowman, and Leverage. All four were basically movies where he was fighting the government. Now, Bob Clark seems to also like Kim Cattrall because this was his third collaboration with her. Um, they worked together on Tribute 1980, a drama, Porky's, as we mentioned before, and Baby Geniuses in 1999. And so, you know, let's actually dig a little bit into the. Now we're going to dig into the actual movie. So let's try to get rid of some stuff so I got more room here. So this is how we do. This is how we kick this off. They're at a bar. All right, you got Terry, Robert Ulrich, and Jimmy, who start out and they're at a bar and they're drinking. And we see Terry walking across the bar on his hands and taking drinks as a bar bet. He does it, and after he sits down, he's there with a bunch of his friends, and the bar owner, and the name of the bar is called Hooley. The bartender is Hooley. The bar owner, Hooley, Hoolly. So they're at the bar, and a kid comes in and starts screaming "Fuego, fuego!" Fire! A little Spanish kid. So they immediately go over, and Terry runs into the burning building. Well, he goes because someone said their child was in there. So he ran in. He does find the child, but as he's trying to get the kid out, firemen are showing up, and he gets hit with a fire hose, goes through a window, and falls. Now he does fall with the kid. But the kid's fine. Falls onto a car. Pretty far fall. If you watch the movie, you'll be like, holy shit, pretty goddamn far for a fall. So lands on a parked car, and he is severely, severely injured. All right. So this is where we start getting into, okay, now what's going to happen? So as we're kind of going through, I'm moving up a little bit here. He gets to the hospital, and this is months later. Now, this movie doesn't give you a timeline, but if you watch the movie, things happen very spread out. It's obviously not day to day. It's obviously weeks go by, months go by. So it's been 6 months, and Terry's still in the hospital. He's not having a very good time doing the whole recovery thing. And he asks what's going on with his pension. Well, being that he was at a bar drinking and was off duty, he never should have been in the building to save the kid. So his pension claim is denied. So now they can't get the surgery, the operations he needs. You guys know how the story goes. You guys know. Let me hydrate here. So the city of New York turned him down for the pension. And immediately, you got Jimmy starts blaming it right on the mayor. Now, again, you got Robert Culp as the mayor. And again, this is a little different of a part for him because most of us knew him as, Bill Maxwell on The Greatest American Hero. So a little different of a part for him. So what Jimmy does is he goes to the mayor's office, and the mayor is taking questions from the press on the stairs. So Jimmy jumps in and asks him, "What about my brother?" He starts telling the story, and once he says his brother was at Hooley's drinking, basically the mayor calls his brother a drunk, and Jimmy gets pissed. They throw Jimmy out. So what Jimmy does instead is he was talking earlier about these 200 letters he's written. Well, what he did is he took those letters and he wallpapered the mayor's office with them. They're all over the walls. Now I'm thinking the same thing you guys are. You just left your name all over the office. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't give a shit. So eventually, because he left his name, they start looking for him. This is where we're introduced to Peter Boyle, right here. So you've got Terry and Jimmy kind of at the bat playing basketball. We see a lot of the relationship with Jimmy and Terry, him and his brother. It's the classic Irish kid relationship with, they both live together. They hang out together. They don't work together because Jimmy you wouldn't want as a fireman. Jimmy's again kind of the artist, struggling artist. Um, kind of off in his own space, you know, but they have a little argument, and all Terry wants is just for the fucking pain to go away. Um, Everybody gets it. Everybody gets it. So, but Jimmy tells him what he did, and Terry's like, "You fucking idiot! Why would you do that?" So they go back and go to Hooley's because everybody needs another drink. They're at the bar. Terry is taking pills with shots of booze, pain pills, not good. And Jimmy's there right as they're walking in. You got Terry making a fool of himself, acting like an asshole. Jimmy comes up and says, "Dude, we got to go. The cops are here." And it is Peter Boyle, his character. He's there. So Terry decides he's going to go and cover for his brother. How nice of him. So he goes up. He tells the cops, "I did it." He gets a fucking club to the stomach anyway, as does Jimmy for trying to tell him he's got the wrong guy. So Jimmy's home and he's looking through his brother's stuff because, Jesus, didn't mean to whistle that. He's looking through his brother's stuff because he's curious, hasn't looked through. And again, they live together. And he finds this little statue of, it's kind of an award from firefighting. And it says to Terry, Jesus Christ, I already forgot their fucking last name. Terry Turk. Middle name is Turk. So give me 1 second here. I can't believe I'm blanking on stuff like this. I should be way smarter than this. It's been a long day, folks. I've been fixing my lawnmower for 2 goddamn days, but I do have it fixed. Finally. Took me 2 fucking days to do it. Lynch. Jimmy and Terry Lynch. So it says Terry Turk Lynch. Okay. Turk. There's the name right there of the movie. And 182, he finds his badge, and 182 is Terry's badge number. So now you've got A, the name of the movie, and B, Jimmy's about to turn into a much different character than we expect. So, here we go. So, as he's going through, all right, we're going through, and Jimmy goes to bail out his brother. And this is where we meet Kim Cattrall. Kim Cattrall, or Danny, as he says, or as she says her name is Danny. And he goes, "It's a boy's name." And she goes, "Yeah, I'm in drag today." You could never pass for a boy. Anyway, they're bailing out Terry. And they're going for, as they're doing it, he figures out Terry is now in the hospital. All right. He tried to kill himself, and he is in basically a full body cast. And Now Jimmy's even more pissed at the mayor. So he's going back after Tyler. Well, Kim Cattrall tells him, well, he's not at his office. He's at Central Park having a rally. And he is. So he goes to Central Park and he's screaming and yelling at the mayor. They throw him out. Well, he sees a couple of guys coming out from a curtain behind, like a tent. Now they're doing this whole thing about graffiti and how they're trying to do all this anti-graffiti stuff in New York. I think we all know, even back in the 80s, graffiti's always been a problem in New York. So he sees a couple guys running out, and basically they say, got a little surprise for the mayor, don't tell. Well, what it is the mayor was about to introduce something called the Golden Apple. New York's the Big Apple. It's supposed to be graffiti proof. Well, it's not. It has the saying that is pretty prominent throughout this whole movie. Zimmerman flew and Tyler knew. So they're saying this guy Zimmerman fled to avoid prosecution and Tyler knew it was happening. Okay? And that's pretty much the 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 basis of the movie right here. So that's how it starts, and he's embarrassed, he's pissed, but there's a bunch of people in the crowd clapping and loving what they see here. It got graffitied. Mayor is pissed. Terry is rehabbing slowly, but he is rehabbing. And Terry's planning. I'm sorry, Jimmy is planning. So the next event the mayor has is a graffiti proof subway train. And it's supposedly completely graffiti proof. To get through and have the paint stick, you'd have to have a sandblaster. Well, turns out he had a sandblaster. Jimmy did. He did a lot of prep for this, but it doesn't show any of the prep. Just so you guys know, doesn't show any of that prep. So what he did is he left the same message on the train after Peter Boyle chases him down, doesn't catch him. Zimmerman flew, Tyler knew, except this time he leaves his signature, Turk 182. And the mayor, all he could do is go, shit. That's all he could say. Jimmy gets home and he's flipping through channels. He's on every station. Now, no one knows he's Turk 182. No one. Just Jimmy. So he does another stunt where the airplane does, how the airplane does the big banner on the back. Well, he switches it out from the one that's promoting Tyler because it's an election year. And it's, again, Zimmerman flew, Tyler knew, Turk 182. So he did that. And as we're going through, this is where Darren McGavin comes in as Detective Kowalski. He's kind of the task force behind this Turk 182 thing. And man, do they want him. And now, as we're going through, you see Jimmy starting to fall a little bit for Kim Cattrall. And if you've heard me talking, I do not blame the guy. Her eyes are amazing. She has really beautiful eyes. But she's not really sure because he's a little younger than she is. But this is where he goes to his friend Shockwave, who owns a little an electronics store. And he's a little crazy. He's a little fucking crazy. Shockwave is. But he's a good friend of Jimmy's. And he's looking to get his help with a remote activator for a scoreboard. His friend, he tells him who he is because he needs him to put it all on the disc. And I love how it's, it's the 85, so it's a nice old floppy disk. It's pretty fucking cool. And he does. And this is where he picks up Kim Cattrall and they go on a little date. And this is where we get Paul Sorvino. Now, beside Paul Sorvino, playing Paul Sorvino, is Roger Grimsby, the sports announcer, as himself. They had all these WABC news team people playing themselves. So there's another scene I'm gonna talk to you about in a little bit where Jimmy goes to the news, and it was another reporter. It was Bill Blutel. So real reporters, and this is where they're at a game. I think it's actually a football game. I might be wrong. I think it's the football game. Might be baseball. I think it is baseball. It is baseball. And they're at the game. And you got Paul Sorvino, and he's reading out all these positive things about the governor and the mayor. And suddenly the board pops on. And there's music, and it's asking one more question. And it's basically, the question is, who flew and who knew? And the whole crowd starts chanting Turk 182. Even Paul Sorvino does a quick Howard Cosell impression, and he pretty much nailed it. Kim Cattrall is screaming and yelling for Turk. She is horny for Turk. She has no clue. She is dating Turk. No clue. No clue at all. Yet. So after the game, like I said, she's all hot and horny. So they go back to his place, and he decides, I'm going to go get a pizza. You hang out here. And she's like, can I, just look around? He's like, yeah, look around a little bit. Go for it. So he does. As he's gone for pizza, Peter Boyle is getting lambasted by Mayor Tyler on what the hell happened, how this happened, and he better not do it again. So Kim Cattrall starts looking through this chest, the same place where Jimmy found his brother's little statue and badge. She finds it. Now she knows who Turk is, and she gets even hotter and even hornier. And I'm not fucking around. She leaves stuff. She has little signs, Turk this way. She's waiting in the room for him in nothing but a t-shirt and some panties. So, he's doing okay in life. But she finds out it's him and is even more. And you know what? She's in one of those old school t-shirts where it's like, white down the front and then the sleeves are blue. So she's in one of those old kind of baseball shirts and just looking all Kim Cattrall sexy. Well, he ditches the pizza and runs right for her. Again, I can't blame the guy. So we see them, and they go to see Terry in the hospital. Now Terry's recovering, and they go to see him. And this is a pretty rough scene if you listen to what Terry is telling Jimmy here. They're trying to give him good news and saying he'll be out of here soon. And basically, Jimmy is telling him, I'm not going to go to jail. And I'm not going to do this anymore. Basically, he was saying as soon as he gets his cast off, he's going to kill himself, is what he was telling him. Well, he didn't think there was anything that he could do. So instead, he decides He's going to pull off the ultimate stunt. Now, as he's doing this, the cops find out they were investigating Terry, but they never looked into Jimmy. They finally just started to look into Jimmy, and they realized Jimmy's the one we're looking for. Well, they go to Terry, and of course, Terry ain't giving them up. Now, this is an even worse spot, though, because what Danny, Kim Cattrall's character, convinces him to do is go to the news and turn himself in. And boy, they run into some crazy characters when they're doing this because a bunch of people are trying to say they're Turk. I mean, you have one crazy guy. I wonder if you guys can hear this.
Super Turk, if you fly one more time, I'm going to fly your ass right out of here.
Super Turk. You heard it. Super Turk. I mean, it's just, there's tons of people trying to pretend they're him. He starts walking out, and one of the reporters catches him and is like, yeah. But there you go. Dirk 182. I like it, Dirk. I like it. You could graffiti the internet. So again, he's intercepted by a TV reporter who does talk to him and does realize this is the guy, but doesn't really do much. Now, this actually makes him more angry, the fact that everyone is trying to be him. So he goes home and they don't play the whole piece. They don't even play the interview, and they make him sound like some crazy guy who is just doing this to fuck with the government, is what they say. Well, again, he decides to do one last thing, and it's on the Queensboro Bridge. He decides to do this. They're having a big celebration for the anniversary of the Queensboro Bridge. All right. And they're doing that now. And there's a whole band out there and everything. Now, the marching band that they had was actual members of Columbia University marching band. So that's exactly what that was. That wasn't just extras or anything. That was actual band members playing. So what he does is they have this whole thing. You know what? I should have taken a picture of this. You know what? Give me a minute. I can take a picture of this. Give me 1 sec. I'll get a picture of this put up. What he does is he takes all the stuff on the bridge, and he is going to fashion it to say simply Turk 182. So here, let me see if I can get this picture put on here. Give me 1 second, guys. Let's see here. Where did that go? Here we go. If it pop, there we go. You see, he's got the Queensboro, and he's going to make that say Turk 182. He's going to move a few of the letters around, and that's what he's going to do. And this is where it becomes an absolute clusterfuck. Jimmy's up there. He's trying to get it done. Now they're trying to get him, but Jimmy greased all the lower girders, so they couldn't get up there and get him. And Peter Boyle is pissed that he's up there and doing this. I mean, pissed. So Kim Cattrall, Danny, goes to see his brother and says, look what your fucking brother is doing. They bring in a TV. He's watching it. Finally, they go, let's go get him down from there. Well, you've got the mayor down there. You've got a whole thing. Again, you got the marching band and everything going on. Peter Boyle is doing everything he can to get the power shut off. It ain't working. He does once, and the guy's like, fuck you, I got auxiliary power. So finally, they get down there, Terry and Danny get down there. But at this point, the whole city is cheering for Turk 182. Now we see the reporter in the station going and telling his boss, "You guys didn't play the interview. I've got 10 fucking minutes with Jimmy Lynch. He's the Turk. I've got it." So finally they play the interview. And in the interview, he's telling his story about how his brother got hurt, about all this stuff, everything going on, the fact that his pension was, denied, and that he says, I told the mayor about my brother, and what does he do? I called him a drunk. All I did was call him a drunk. Everybody starts yelling at Tyler. You fucking suck. Fuck you. So finally, Jimmy does it. Jimmy finally fashions it to say Turk 182. You know what? I need to get that picture too. I don't know why I didn't. But he finally got it, and it says Turk 182. Give me a sec. I'll get it right. Give me 5 more seconds here. Photos. If my computer was quicker, I'd be done already, but I'm not. All right, here we go. Save as desktop. Okay. So he finally gets it, and it does eventually say, I think this is the right one, Turk 182. So, but you got Peter Boyle shooting at him. And, you got Detective Kowalski, who's like, why are you shooting him on fucking television, on national television? And it's funny. At one point, you got this scene where Detective Kowalski's trying to lower the scissor lift he's on. And it's just like the scene in A Christmas Story where he's trying to plug in the thing and the fuse blows, and he's like, it's just one too many. And he's got this confused look on his face. Well, that's exactly what he does here when he's trying to find the button to let the thing down. But, all he can do is the mayor was like, listen, when he finally gets down from there, we're going to tell him we've been rooting for him the whole time and give him whatever he wants. So in the long run, Jimmy did end up winning. Everybody got what they needed. This is pretty much the movie, but this is simply one of those movies that I feel is just a cult classic. It is not very popular. And like I said, unfortunately, you cannot stream this right now. If you really want it, leave me your email on either YouTube, or if you know how to get a hold of me on Facebook, David Richardson, go for it. Hit me up there. I'll get you the movie. But this is a fun, quick movie. It's like an hour and 39 minutes, and it moves very, very quickly. Before you know it, you're at the end of the movie. It's like, wow, already? It's what the hell happened? But this is really, really a great little, I guess you could call it a cult classic. If anyone who's watched or listened to the show realizes I don't do many new movies. I don't do mainstream. I do mostly movies that were not highly acclaimed. It's what I do. It's the movies I like are the movies that aren't known as great movies. I mean, this movie, Siskel and Ebert hated this fucking movie. They called it Idiot Plot. They hated this movie. I don't give a shit. I loved this movie. Thought it was a fun movie. Again, I remember watching this with my dad. I must have been, this came out when I was 10, so I had to be 11 or 12 when I first watched this movie. But it was a movie that I obviously loved because it stuck with me. And I mean, I just watched it last night in order to do the show. So it is definitely a cult classic, though. So if you've never seen Turk 182, if you can find it, you can find it on Amazon. You can find DVDs of it on Amazon. But like I said, if you really want this movie after I talked about it, it is worth a watch. Hit me up. I'll get it to you. I'll put it on Google Drive and just ship it on over to you. But this is really, really one of those just fast paced, fun 80s movies that, we're just not going to see these type of movies again, where it's just mindless entertainment that you just don't have to dig too deep into. And Kim Cattrall. Uh, and Kim Cattrall. But action there. But I always liked the flow of this movie, the way it just kind of was put together. But again, there's no real timeline. You kind of realize that things in this movie are very spread out, and this would be a much longer movie if they did put timelines in it. So, on that note, folks, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Not sure what I'm doing next week, but I'm really glad I did this movie. I was kind of kicking it back and forth. It's a really, really rare, obscure movie. I didn't know if I was going to want to do this, but I said last week I got a few more obscure ones I want to do, and I said, fuck it. My show. It's up to me. I think this is a great movie. So I hope everybody enjoyed this little review of Turk 182 from 1985. I am Boxman. This is Hollywood Hangout. Like, subscribe. I'll be back here next week doing something, some sort of movie. On that note, appreciate it, y'all. And